Most of my books are now available as audiobooks. Go to maniacondtheloose.com/audiobooks.
A maniac on the loose.
Welcome to the Maniac on the Loose Scary Stories podcast. Sit back and relax. Keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times and enjoy the ride.
Something to keep me sane. For most people, when the end of the workday nears, they are staring at the clock with anticipation, eager to get home where they can unwind and relax. For me, it's the opposite. The closer the hour hand creeps to closing, the heavier the air in the pharmacy becomes. "Is there anything else you need me to do before I leave, Mr. Pritchard?" The voice snapped me halfway out of my dread. "Huh? It's quitting time. Need me for anything else, or can I go?" I blinked my eyes hard and gently shook my head. It was Stuart, my assistant, talking to me. It had been a busy day here at Pritchard's Pharmacy. I'm sure he was excited to be off work to have some fun with his friends. "No, you go on, Stuart. I'll finish up things here. Lock the door on your way out." "Thanks, Mr. Pritchard." He smiled ear to ear and jogged out of the pharmacy, turning the sign on the front door to closed before locking it and departing. In reality, I had nothing left to finish. Stuart handled everything perfectly. He was a damn fine worker, but I could say I had to work late. The excuse would be plausible for up to an hour before I would have to explain myself. I took advantage of that time. The 1 hour after work where I just sat in the darkened, closed, quiet pharmacy and truly relaxed. I do believe it was that 1 hour a day after work that kept me sane, but its effects were starting to diminish. I let out a resigned sigh when the alarm on my phone went off, alerting me that I had exhausted all the time I could and that I needed to head home. The dread hit hardest right then, knowing I had to go home.
"Well, it's about time, Sheldon. Dinner is already on the table. I didn't slave over a hot oven all day, only to serve the meal cold."
"Sorry, Wendy. I had to work late."
"You always work late. Early mornings, late nights. I barely see you anymore. You need to take a week off. I've got an ever-growing list for you. Clean the gutters, wash the windows, trim the hedges, paint the garage, install the shelves in the laundry room, deep clean the fridge, and that's just the start."
Her voice pierced like a banshee's wail. "Yes, Wendy." As we ate, Wendy demanded details about my day. Oh, it was a typical day at the pharmacy, filling prescriptions, answering questions, that sort of thing. She shook her head in disgust.
"I don't know how you stand it. Such a mundane, boring job. Sell that place and do something interesting."
"Pritchard's Pharmacy has been in the family nearly 100 years. My grandfather founded it. My father worked there his whole life. Now it's my turn. If I ever have a child..." Wendy threw her utensils down in anger.
"Don't start on kids again. Taking care of you is hard enough. I don't need some sniveling, snot-nosed brat running around too. And look at you, Sheldon. You haven't aged well. Balding, bags under your eyes, sagging skin, age spots creeping in. If you want to climb on top of me, fix yourself first. I'm not your whore to use whenever the mood hits. I decide when we have sex, and it won't be any time soon."
"Of course, Wendy." Truth be told, everyone said I always looked like I hadn't aged at all since they last saw me. I wasn't bald, my hair was just thinning, and maybe my skin was a little looser than it used to be, but it certainly wasn't sagging, and if I had age spots, I hadn't noticed. It was actually Wendy who had changed significantly from our wedding day, when she was thin, soft-skinned, had a beaming smile and flowing blonde hair. Since then, she had more than doubled in weight. Her skin had somehow gone leathery. She lost one of her front teeth and never had it replaced. And her hair was always oily, as if she only used conditioner and not shampoo. But I never complained.
Sheldon, load the dishwasher.
As I loaded it, Wendy hovered.
Not like that. Plates on the bottom rack, facing in, and rinse them first.
She snatched the mildly stained plate from my hand, ran it under the faucet, complaining the whole time.
Everything's going to come out filthy because you can't do anything right.
Yes, Wendy. She led me to the living room for her endless stream of cheesy reality shows, the ones she loved and I hated. On the way, she spotted my shoes by the front door.
Your shoes are right in the middle of the floor. Put them in the closet before I trip and break my neck.
I'm sorry, Wendy. While she watched TV, I let my mind drift back to the pharmacy, my sanctuary, the place she never visited. When she got up for the bathroom, I grabbed the remote and switched to an action movie for maybe 5 minutes of freedom.
Sheldon, there's no toilet paper on the holder.
My apologies, Wendy. Her footsteps approached. I flipped it back to her channel before she could catch me. She'd really let me have it otherwise. I took a sip of after-dinner coffee and set the mug down.
Use your coaster. You're going to ruin the table.
Sorry, Wendy. Our before-bed routine never changed.
You squeezed the toothpaste tube from the middle again.
She was wrong. I had made a point to squeeze it from the bottom, exactly as she demanded. Are you sure? I thought
Are you calling me a liar, Sheldon? Are you?
Of course not, Wendy. I'll do better.
Sheldon, look. Your shirt's inside out on the chair. If you're going to undress like a teenager, at least put it in the hamper.
I will, Wendy. The moment I slid into bed, she started the next day's list.
Don't forget, tomorrow you have to take the car in to get the oil changed, pick up the dry cleaning, and call the plumber about the shower. The hot water faucet won't turn all the way. You must have broken it.
Thank you for reminding me, Wendy. Sleep was my only escape from her at home. Even that didn't last. Her hand shook me awake.
You left the seat up again. I almost fell in. Thanks for that.
The next morning, I woke before Wendy, as usual. I dressed as quietly as possible, crept downstairs, and slipped out without breakfast. I never ate at home. I couldn't stand 1 extra second there. Instead, I grabbed something at the diner on the way to the pharmacy. As I opened the door to escape, her screech sliced down the stairs.
Don't forget to take out the trash.
After a peaceful, nag-free breakfast, I reached the pharmacy early and started crushing and mixing the special blend I'd been perfecting for months. Today, it was finally ready. A little something to take the edge off, something to relax me, something to keep me sane. I waited until just before closing while Stuart finished up.
I'll have everything ready in a few minutes, Mr. Pritchard.
Unsure how long it would take to kick in, I popped the pill and swallowed. Nothing. This was the first dose, so I hadn't known exactly what to expect, but I'd hoped for something. Disappointed, I didn't bother staying late. Maybe getting home early would make Wendy more tolerable. That was just wishful thinking.
It's about time you got home in a decent hour. It's been weeks since you came home this early, and I'm sick of it. This better be the new normal, Sheldon. No more working late.
Yes, Wendy. I ate while she nagged about everything under the sun, finishing with the usual demand to sell the pharmacy, my family's legacy, the one thing in my life I was proud of and enjoyed.
At the end of the year, you're selling that business. We're taking the money and moving closer to my mother. She's getting old. With us nearby, you can feed her and bathe her. You hear me, Sheldon?
Of course, Wendy.
Good. Now load the dishwasher.
She loomed over me, criticizing every dish placement. Then the room began to glow, and I felt lighter. Her grating voice faded beneath a low rumble that built and built until it cut off sharp. The pill had kicked in.
You can't put that skillet in there, Sheldon. It's not dishwasher safe, you idiot.
I looked down at the heavy cast iron skillet in my hand and grinned. Wendy, shut your fat, ugly mouth. Wendy froze, mouth open in shock at my words, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. I swung the skillet as hard as I could. It connected with a wet crack, dropping her to the kitchen floor. Her eyes fluttered, her body jerked in spasms. But I wasn't finished. I brought the skillet down again and again, laughing, wild, unstoppable, as her skull split and popped under each blow. Blood sprayed in hot arcs, spattering the cabinets, the floor, my face. Her teeth scattered like dice across the tile. One eyeball dangled from its socket, swinging on threads of nerve. Years of nagging poured out of me with every swing, every insult, every demand, every Sheldon. I kept going. By the time I stopped, her head was gone, just a pulpy, glistening mess of blood, bone fragments, and brain smeared across the linoleum. Look, Wendy, I'm loading the dishwasher any damn way I please. Backwards, forwards, upside down, and this cast iron skillet is going right in too. What do you think about that? I ran around the house, cackling like a kid on Christmas morning. I spotted my shoes by the front door, snatched them up, and waved them like trophies. Look, my shoes aren't in the closet. They're not in the closet. I hurled them across the room. And look at this, Wendy. I'm undressing right here in the kitchen. I disrobed, carelessly tossing each garment randomly throughout the room until I was stark naked. My shirt is hanging on the chair. My socks are on the floor. My underwear is in the sink. What are you going to do about it now, Wendy? Since I was naked, it was time for hot, sweaty sex. I ripped the pants from her stiff, blood-soaked torso and entered her hard and deep. Years of pent-up frustration released in a flood, sperm surging through her cervix into her uterus in search of an egg to fertilize so I can have a son or a daughter to pass the family business on to. I climbed onto the roof of the house and shouted out for the world to hear, "I'm in charge now, Wendy. I'm in charge." Suddenly, everything went silent, and I heard a snapping sound. "Mr. Pritchard?" I opened my eyes, and there I was, back in the pharmacy. Stuart was snapping his fingers inches in front of my face. "Mr. Pritchard, are you okay?" I blinked hard a few times. Stuart? Stuart, what just happened? Stuart was confused as he shrugged. "I told you I'd have everything finished in a few minutes. Then I saw you take a pill. You sat down after that and just kind of zoned out." "How long ago was that?" "Well, just a few minutes. I'm done now." None of it had happened. The blood, the skillet, the roof, all of it a vivid, real-time fantasy that burned through my mind in mere minutes. I wasn't sure if I felt relieved or disappointed, but a slow grin spread across my face. That night, the memory would wrap around me like a warm blanket, drowning out the horror waiting at home. Stuart stared, bewildered. "What was in that pill that you took, Mr. Pritchard?" I took in a confident breath and patted Stuart on the shoulder. "Something to keep me sane." A car named Victor. There it was, a 1952 Cadillac Fleetwood, staring at me from the most prime spot of the Moonlight Motors used car lot like it owned the place. It sat low and wide on its long 130-inch wheelbase, the massive chrome grille like a wide, tight-lipped mouth framed by those famous Dagmar bumper guards jutting forward like fangs. The hood seemed to stretch on forever, the headlights slanted and watchful, shadowed by a low ridge. The whole thing was exuding the quiet bulk of something old, expensive, and unforgiving, built to dominate the road, not share it. I had always wanted one. I pulled into the lot, killed the engine, and stepped out to admire the beauty of the beast. It was the darkest charcoal gray I'd ever seen on a car like this, not glossy, but matte, almost absorbing the light instead of reflecting it. I'd never seen a 52 Fleetwood in anything close to that shade.
"Can I help you, sir?"
I turned. The salesman was about my age, mid-30s, with bushy hair, a shaggy mustache, and a mustard-yellow shirt strangled by an ugly brown tie. "Yeah, you can help me. How much are you asking for this mean machine?"
"Oh, you don't want Victor, sir. Let me show you something else."
"Victor?" He nodded toward the Fleetwood.
"That's the name of the car."
I chuckled. The car's name is Victor? He just nodded again. "Okay, how much for Victor?"
Like I said, you don't want that vehicle, but we have several other cars on the lot that you might—"
I raised my hands, cutting him off, and jabbed a finger toward the Fleetwood. "I want this car. Now tell me how much it is."
"It's $20,000.
I blinked. It was way lower than I'd braced for. 20,000? What's wrong with it?
Nothing. It's perfect, but you don't want it.
Yes, I do. I pointed to my all-wheel drive Outback. I'd be willing to trade my car for it, even swap. What do you think? He glanced at the Outback and scanned it in one practiced sweep.
Well, we'd have to have our mechanic look it over, but if he clears it, an even trade would be fair. But again, I can't sell you Victor.
I was getting tired of this charade. Why? Why are you so opposed to selling me this Victor?
He doesn't like men.
I laughed, waiting for him to crack a grin, obviously a joke. But he stayed stone-faced. You're serious?
Yes, sir.
Doesn't like men? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Do you have a boss?
Yes, sir.
Get him. Now. The salesman vanished into the small building at the center of the lot. A moment later, he reappeared with a plump man in a bright red suit, thick mutton chops framing a broad salesman's smile. "What can I do for you today, sir?" "I want to buy this car." His salesman's smile vanished the moment he followed my finger to the 52 Fleetwood. "Victor?" He shook his head. "I'm sorry, sir. You don't want to buy Victor. He doesn't like men." I was done playing games. I turned to the salesman and jabbed a thumb toward my Outback. "Have your mechanic check it out right now." He took my keys without a word, slid into my car, and drove it behind the building. Just like that, I was alone with the boss. Since when does the customer have to high-pressure the salesman? I stepped closer. "I want to buy this car, and you will sell it to me." The boss inched toward me. "Can I speak frankly?" "Please." He drew a couple of slow breaths as his eyes flicked to the Fleetwood, as if weighing the words, then finally spoke. "Every man who's ever bought this car has died inside it within 24 hours. Those are the cold, hard facts. So maybe now you'll reconsider?" I laughed right in his face. "Bullshit! You want this car for yourself, or your wife, or your kid. Nice try, but your little games won't work on me. I want to buy this car. Either sell it to me, or I'll get the police involved." The boss stared back, his face hardening into something cold and flat. Just then the salesman reappeared, my keys dangling from his hand.
His car checked out clean.
He glanced between us.
But I take it you talked him out of buying Victor?
The boss spoke quietly. No, I didn't. The boss kept staring at me through narrowed eyes, then finally exhaled. Fine, if you want it that bad, you can have it. The salesman jerked forward.
You can't let him have Victor.
I tried to talk him out of it, but he refuses to listen. Far be it from me to turn down a fool's money. Besides, Victor will be back tomorrow, as pristine as ever, just like always. We'll just have this gentleman's vehicle to boot. The salesman shrugged. We did the necessary paperwork in silence to complete the transaction, and I drove Victor out of the lot. I didn't know what all that nonsense at the lot was about, and I didn't care. I finally owned a 1952 Cadillac Fleetwood, just like I'd always wanted. The most unique one I'd ever seen at that. The 52 devoured the blacktop with a low, liquid rumble, gliding so smoothly it felt like the road had been iron flat just for it. No vibrations, no harshness, just that heavy, insulated hush of old luxury steel and hydraulics working in perfect concert. Behind the wheel I sat taller, shoulders squared, the long hood stretching out ahead like a promise of dominion. Every passing car seemed to shrink in the rearview mirror, and for the first time in years, I felt genuinely large, untouchable, like the world had finally arranged itself to make way. I gave Victor a hearty slap on the broad dashboard and cackled like a kid with a new toy. You're all mine, Victor. You're all mine. The heavens split open, dumping sheets of rain across the windshield in relentless curtains. Then the radio snapped on by itself. First a burst of harsh static that clawed the air, then a low, guttural voice, demonic, amused, slithered through the speakers.
No, you are all mine.
The accelerator pedal slammed to the floor on its own. Victor lunged forward like a rocket, tires hydroplaning on the slick blacktop. I stomped on the brakes, but nothing. The pedal was dead, locked solid. No slowing, no stopping. Victor had taken full control. I fumbled for my phone, trying to call the police, hoping maybe somehow they could stop this monster. But before I could hit call, a deafening horn blared right in front of us. I snapped my head up. A yellow school bus was barreling straight toward us, its side flashing the words, Coffin's View Cross Country Team, in bold black letters. Brakes screamed, tires locked, and the whole thing fishtailed wildly. For one frozen heartbeat, I saw them, pale faces pressed to the rain-streaked windows, wide eyes locked on that black hood rushing at them, mouths open in silent screams. Then Victor clipped the bus's flanks with a bone-jarring crunch of metal on metal. We ricocheted like a pinball off of the bumper, spinning hard, then slammed straight into the biggest damn tree I'd ever seen. The impact folded the hood like tinfoil and threw me forward against the wheel. Pain exploded everywhere, ribs cracking, blood in my mouth, but I didn't die right away. It took agonizing minutes, each one slower than the last. All the while, the green radio glow pulsed brighter, and from the speakers came a low, staticky laugh. Victor's laugh, mocking me as the world faded. I know you like scary stories. Want to hear my latest scary stories, ad-free? Get some of my audiobooks. I have a bunch. It's a great way to support the show. Go to maniacontheloose.com/audiobooks.